Welcome to Moving Mom and Downsizing Dad, the podcast that prepares you for one of life's toughest yet inevitable moments, stepping in when your parents need you most. Hosted by Chris Spade, a senior real estate specialist with Keller Williams Realty. We'll dive deep into more than just moving. We're talking smart financial planning, making tough decisions with confidence, and strategies to avoid being caught in crisis mode. Join us for real stories, expert insights, and actionable steps to stay ahead of the curve. Now, here's your host, Chris Spade.
And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Moving Mom and Downsizing Dad, the podcast where we help Gen Xers navigate life and talk about our aging parents and all the things that are involved in it. My name's Chris Spade. I am your host today. I am joined by Jana York. Now, Jana is the owner of Always Sunny Ramona Senior Daycare Club. Now, their focus and mission is making life better for seniors and their families. Jana, welcome to Moving Mom and Downsizing Dad. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you so much, Chris. It's my pleasure. I'm thrilled to be here.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about yourself and Always Sunny.
Well, I've been in the in-home care business for 12 years, and I decided I would venture into something I thought was a little bit better. I was having troubles finding caregivers in my area, and this opportunity came up where we could have people that would benefit from in-home care come to us. And when I say that, I mean, we actually have a building where seniors come every day, Monday through Friday, some few less than every day. Mm-hmm. But what they do is they get to be here with us, and we take care of them in the same ways that in-home care would. So we have meals for them. We help them with mobility issues. We can hand out their medications, not drugs.
Right.
But we also give
prescription
meals.
Drugs.
Yeah.
Right.
But we also provide meals, and those are the basics with showers as well. And something that's also very important with seniors is some of them need help toileting. So we provide all of those services for them. But what makes it really special having this instead of an in-home care person is that they get to socialize. They get to be together. They're making friends. They're having activities. They're seeing other people. When it's one person and a caregiver, it's a little stagnant. So we're broadening their horizons. We're letting them do things that maybe they wouldn't be able to do or wouldn't be interested in doing at home because they didn't even think about it.
So you're creating community.
Absolutely, we're creating community.
So when you do that, what are some of the things that you do at the Ramona Senior Day Club to create that community? What kind of activities do you have?
Well, the things that we do are as simple as having coffee together early in the morning. When people come, they come anytime between 7:30 and about 9:30 usually. And that's when we have our coffee clutch. And we get together and we sit and we chat and we talk about what we did the evening before, or maybe just look at the birds outside and say, I like the way that one sounded. That's how we start our day. And then we roll it into something physical. We do our exercises about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and it's usually an hour. There's seated exercises like chair yoga. We even do some seated drumming exercises and just isometric holds, things like that. But we do that for an hour. And then we have an arts and crafts project, which is, again, going back to the social model. Not everybody's a crafter, but we do stuff that's fun and different, and it engages your fine motor skills, makes you think out of the box. And, people come and they bring their family and they say, there's no way my dad's ever going to do that. He's not interested in crafts. And a week later, he's walking home with his little ornament he's going to hang up on his car.
That's rad. That's awesome.
Or he's got some pretty picture he's ready to give his wife. But it gives us the opportunity to work together. And it's true, not everybody's into crafts, but sometimes what happens is one fellow who doesn't want to do the craft will help someone else who has lesser skills. So that gives a person a sense of worth and
Purpose.
need. Yeah, purpose, because he's able to help. And, a lot of our older folks, they don't have that opportunity anymore. But after that, we have a really nice meal, home cooked meals, just Americana food, and we spice it up with a little bit of Mexican. And we also have some Asian food that we throw in there. We're Ramona, so everybody likes the different kinds of foods out here too.
Nice.
And after lunch, we do something that's a game, that's a brain game. So we engage them in that way. And it's not a really structured game, but it's more like a call out game so that people can participate without having to learn the rules or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it just keeps evolving throughout the rest of the day with games and getting up and doing something physical. It's brain, social, physical all day long. We switch it up. Yeah. And
That's
so,
good.
it really gives people the opportunity to make those friendships and connections.
That's awesome. There was something that you kind of touched on just a little bit as you were saying that you were creating community. So can you elaborate? Because as I was doing my research on, doing all of this and doing the podcast, loneliness was a big thing. And I remember
Right.
years ago when my grandmother, she's been gone now for almost 10 years, but I remember something very specifically. So this was many, many years ago. We went out to dinner. I lived here in California at the time. She was back home in Minnesota. One thing she said was when we were ordering dinner at the dinner table, she said, "No, I can't drink anymore because if I get too lonely, I start drinking and that's not good for me." And so
Right.
she just she quit doing all those things because she was feeling lonely. So can you kind of elaborate on the loneliness epidemic here in the United States and
Right.
the impact that it has on our seniors?
Well, if you can just imagine, like your grandmother and like all the seniors we know in our lives, as they get older, they lose the capacity to do things. They're not driving their cars anymore. They're not making it to the regular social events that they were doing before. They might not make it to their church. They might have had some clubs that they belonged to after retirement, and they're not doing that anymore. Or maybe, they're not keeping up mentally with folks. So this creates more and more isolation. And then what everybody knows is the breakdown of the American society with our families, because everybody wants to grow up and move out of the house and go have their own adventures, which is all fine and dandy until you turn about 80 years old and you look around and said, where my family is, where are my kids, who's going to take care of me? And it's just darn lonely. So it is an epidemic in this country, and it's not just with our seniors. Folks have become so isolated. But,
Mm-hmm.
we try to break those barriers. We want to have our people together. And that's one of the biggest differences between us and home care. It's getting together. When someone is not at our center, we notice it. Our members notice it. It's quieter today. What's wrong? Someone's missing. Oh, Bill's not here. I can tell he should be
Mm-hmm.
here.
Right. And
Yeah.
if someone's not there that is normally regularly there, is there a check-in process on them or
Oh, definitely.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So usually in that case, the family has alerted me that someone is ill or something's going on. They can't make it that day in advance because, of course, we schedule our meals and all the people that'll be there around how many folks we have that day. But
Right.
we're aware of it, and we don't usually discuss it with the other members because we don't want them to worry. But if they bring it back, we say, "Oh, good for you. You're noticing that he's not there. You're taking care of your own community." And seeing what's going on. And if people are sick for a little while, hey, we like to send them a card and we have everybody sign it because these are their friends and they
Yeah.
want to hear from them too. Yeah.
Another thing that you had brought up earlier was the games that you play, the brain the brain part of the day. So talk about how regular social interaction and coming to a place like the Always Sunny Ramona Senior Daycare, how that helps people with their cognitive skills and slowing down the progression of dementia. Because a big part of the reason I started this podcast is one of my friends, her spouse, in a moment of clarity, had wherewithal to call me, and she had fallen, and her spouse had dementia.
Right.
Has dementia. We have since gotten her into memory care. And, when she retired, she just pretty much was alone all day while the other one was at work. So talk about that a little bit on how that helps keep us stimulated.
Well, I think you touched on a key point. When folks retire, there is this anticipation that they're going to have a wonderful and exciting life from here on out. And what happens, especially with our fellows, is they go home and sit often. They might have a few years where they're out there, they're doing all the things they said they would do, the gardening, the fishing, joining the guys for whatever football game. And then as you get older, you start stepping away from that. Like we were talking before, you lose your driver's license. You can't see quite as well as you used to. You don't have the stamina to do things. So what happens to folks is they go home and they sit. They watch television all day. It's really troublesome. And when you're just sitting in front of the TV, your brain is just going to sleep. There's very little stimulation that's happening, some entertainment, but if you ask anybody who's watching TV all the time, they are bored to tears. And that is not good for someone who has dementia. That just wipes them out. So we do have TV, but we don't use it as a babysitter. Nobody sits over here and watches TV. We like to do things like, okay, we're going to watch something on the material making in Hawaii, how they make the material. And we'll watch a 15-minute TV show on that, stop, talk about it, and then we'll turn that into arts and crafts activity where they can take what they learned and go over and do something with it. So see, it is growth that we're talking about. It's new ideas, and you have a really hard time doing that if you're by yourself or just with your spouse in your home. We all need to get out and do things, have new experience, go places. And that's what we do. That's Always Sunny. One of the things that I was thinking about today, getting ready for this, is people like routines. And when they've retired, they lose those routines. Getting up in the morning, getting ready for work, getting dressed, eating, going into work, having coffee with your friends, and getting to business. Those are the routines we have while we're working. So getting into a senior daycare like we have, you can start having those routines again. Okay, it's Monday. Let's go to the club. Let's go do this. You get up in the morning, you take your shower, you get ready, and then you come in, you have coffee with your friends. And the day goes on from there. Just all of this, it adds and builds to help the person with dementia so that they're not sitting there stagnant, their brains aren't falling asleep, they're getting the stimulation that they need.
And it gives family a peace of mind if they are starting to, I guess the word is show signs of dementia, to feel better that somebody's there with them all day long and that
Right.
they've got one less worry, right?
Absolutely. It's a definite peace of mind. There's so many folks that are left on their own all day long. And when someone's in a program like ours, they know that they're getting their needs met and having a good time.
That's awesome. So, let me ask you. So, let's just pick on my father, for example, because you, I feel, kind of described him to a T, where, he's retired. He retired from UPS, worked there for nearly 50 years, long career with UPS. retired, and you pretty much described him exactly, sitting in the chair watching TV all day. So, how do I, as a child of my dad, how do I approach the subject and say, "Hey, this might be a place we want to check out"? How do I start to have that conversation with my dad?
Right. Sometimes it can be tough, but let's see. Maybe say, I'm worried about you, Dad. You seem like you're not doing anything, and that you're bored and you need something else to do with your life. Mom's worried about you too. She needs to get out and she doesn't like to leave you here at home all the time. You know, why don't you come down? I know this group of fellas, they all get together, on Mondays and Fridays. It's their best day and they have a great time all day long. They're playing games. We play the silly games like Uno. They've
I
got a
love
little
Uno.
bocce
That's my
ball.
favorite game.
Oh my gosh, you would fit right in.
It is my absolute, I am an Uno champion, so I love Uno.
Well, our Uno is pretty cutthroat around here
Oh,
because
I'm
our guys like to
cutthroat.
tease each other like crazy, and they exaggerate and they get dramatic when someone plays a draw four on them.
That's awesome. Because I do
Yeah,
too,
we
trust
have
me.
so much fun. It is hard to get folks going. It's your dad might not be showing any signs of dementia, but once people are, the things that help get them into somewhere like ours is, hey, I don't feel comfortable leaving you at home anymore. I need a break. Often you can get the doctors in, and the doctors will say, you need more socialization. You're doing okay, but we want to keep you where you're at and maybe even make you a little bit better, hold you a little longer. So let's try a couple of days of socializing at a day club. And it's worked miracles. I've had people come in who haven't talked much at home for a long time. And when they start coming here after a couple of weeks, I hear that they're going home and initiating conversations over the dinner table.
That's
Wow.
cool. That's
That's so
cool.
cool, right?
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
because I mean, like our biggest concern, even for my father is um that he just doesn't get out much, and we've been trying to encourage him. He's still young. I mean, I think he's young. He's 70, he'll be 73 next month. So actually in 2 weeks he'll be 73. So
wow,
he's still young, but we have that concern that he, is slipping into this routine of monotony that
right.
has just really, I just don't think is helpful. And
Mhm.
so this is, another part of my research is, yeah, how do we move that process along? You know what I mean?
Well, he might not be ready for a senior daycare at this time.
Hmm.
Um, he might be someone that you say, hey, let's join a Kiwanis. Let's join a Rotary, because he still is young and able to do a lot more. Maybe find a church, do something like that, and activities that he can do more independently. A place like ours is for someone who's a little bit further down the line, isn't quite meeting their own needs. Or, like, I do have one fellow that the wife, his wife, not the wife, his wife got in touch and said, my husband sits around like yours, like your
Hmm.
father. And she said that he needs more socialization. She brought him in, and he still drives his car to us, but it's that he is losing some of his memory, and we
Mm.
can see it and he is aware of it. And being with us, how that helps is he doesn't have to worry about it. He knows that we don't care if he doesn't remember. We tease him all the time because he says stuff like, oh, I forgot, I made a mistake there. And I say, you can't make a mistake around here because we have so many bossy ladies. We're going to tell you how to fix it. So
That's
we
awesome.
turn everything into a joke that we can.
That's
Uh,
good.
yeah. But the doctor says you need socialization, then I I don't feel comfortable leaving you here any longer by yourself. And this is about the only thing we can do to really keep that dementia at bay is to get you in some kind of socialization. I need you to try it. You know?
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. So I'm just curious, how young is your youngest member and how old is your oldest member?
We have a fellow that is 67 and we have a
Okay.
lady that is 92.
Nice.
Yes, the majority of the people that come to us are in their 80s, but we do have one or two that's younger, and it's pretty adorable because the other fellows think that our youngest guy is like one of their kids. And, come on, let's go do this. And he's actually a little further down the dementia line than the rest of our clients. So they love to help him.
Oh,
And
that's nice.
it's lovely. It is so lovely. Yeah.
That's nice. So talk a little bit about what can families do to stay engaged with their loved ones there and support their loved ones' experiences with your community. How can families help?
Well, families help, just by bringing their families here, by getting them involved, because once they get here, we'll take it. And the thing that we do is really we help the families by giving them a break. By giving them that worry-free time, by knowing that mom and dad or husband or wife is taken care of and in a place they want to be. The other day, I was talking with one of the wives who drops off her husband and said, it seems like your husband's having a really good time. And she said that he had had a stroke. And that's what brought him in for the socialization and the movement from the stroke. And that he was doing really well. And she felt more comfortable with him. And he was giving her a little bit of a hard time the other day about coming in. And she said, you don't have to go anymore. You're doing really well. This is all up to you. So you let me know. And he said, oh no, I want to go. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
I had
awesome.
another lady come in, and this was about the third or fourth time that her husband had been in. And she was kind of upset. And I walked over to her and said, what's going on? Is there something wrong? And she said, no, but I see my husband over there and he's laughing and he's telling his stories. And she said, that is the man that I married and I have not seen him in a long time.
Oh,
So this is why we do it. This is what makes it so
that's sweet.
wonderful. Giving
That is
folks
just
that
so sweet.
place.
Yeah. Oh, that's just that just gets you into the holiday spirit by hearing a story like that, right?
I hope so. I don't know. It's more tender than that.
That's so nice. So tell us, what does the future look like for Always Sunny Ramona Senior Day Club, and um, like what are there enough places like yours to help all our seniors that because we're starting to see this big boom of older adults enter the retirement age. What does the future hold for
Yeah.
your community?
Well, the Senior Day program is something that's pretty much a new idea, new concept for folks. And I really hope that people latch onto it, because the idea of mom needs help at home is going to be very, very difficult to fulfill as the senior population continues to grow. They consider it a senior care crisis is right on the horizon because there just aren't going to be enough caregivers to go around. What my
Yeah.
business is lucky to have is that we have a ratio of one caregiver to 8 people.
Oh,
And that is more than enough for our folks because we always have a couple extra too. But it's 1 to 8 is the ratio that the state mandates that we have. So one caregiver is taking care of just these 8 folks. That's going to take a huge burden off of the caregiving community. And by having it at so much cheaper than in-home care and
hmm,
having placement for your family in a long-term care facility, you stretch the folks' dollars. We're keeping them home longer.
Yeah.
We're half the price of in-home care and like a quarter of the price of what it's cost to put them into a nice facility. So we're going to bridge that gap. Not everybody's going to be able to afford home care, and not everybody's going to go into a home, but we can help by helping those folks get the care they need and,
Yeah.
have
And
a
you just
happy life.
Yeah, you just hit the nail on the head. It's the when I have conversations, when I'm sitting across from people, when they're thinking about, do we sell the home, do we modify it to, have mom or dad age in place, we go over, these are the rough costs, right? Like, and they see that, and that scares them. And so now I have a resource where I can, refer them to,
Right.
um, where I can say, oh, because honestly, before I started doing my research, I did not know that this was that what you do was a thing. And so, like I said, as I was thrown into this, I'm learning a lot as I go along, and I'm finding all these great things that I bet people just don't know about.
Well, we don't think about senior care until we have a family member, and usually it's a family member or friend in your case who has a crisis. And then we have no idea what to do. Maybe we call Mary Joe down the street who we
Hmm.
think takes care of somebody somehow and they can help. Uh, no, nobody pre plans, and that's a shame. But yeah, there are so many resources, and what you're doing is helping get the word out to folks. And that's just going to be so important. People don't know. We all think that we're going to live forever and we're
Yep.
never going to need any
Yep.
help. We're going to die healthy at
Yep.
85, 90 years
Yep.
old.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just not the case.
No, no, it's not. And that's another big push for what I want to do with this podcast is, don't, here are things that you can think of before you get to crisis mode. I want to
Right,
avoid the crisis mode, and that's kind of
right.
where I'm, because I got thrown into crisis mode with my friend, and so this is just another awesome opportunity. Is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you would like to add to this? I've learned so much from you in the short time we've had together.
Oh, thank you so much. I just think people need to get involved, and by doing these things, investigating, we're just going to help everyone's life be better, not just our seniors, but it helps the whole family. Just knowing that these resources are out there and they're not on their own. There's care planners that can get involved. There's all sorts of resources that we can use. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining me, Jana. I really, really appreciate it. And if you guys have any questions for Jana, or you would like to visit Always Sunny Ramona Senior Day Club, excuse me,
It's
I
both.
am going to put all of Jana's info in the show notes. You're going to be able to reach out to her directly. And thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you guys on the next podcast. Talk to you soon.